Welcome to the Prescott Lab podcast, not just theory, practical science for everyone. I'm Dr. Jonathan Prescott, a physician and integrative medicine researcher at the Ravenshade Institute for Human Health. Gentlemen, imagine this, it's early morning. Outside, the world is still wrapped in a soft gray light. You're standing in your kitchen, the coffee machine humming its steady tune, the air carrying that familiar warm scent. You take a slow sip, feeling the quiet of the hour, but deep down, there's something else you feel too. A question, a longing, that quiet thought you rarely say out loud. Is my best still behind me? Today, we're going to talk about why so many men over 60 feel that shift even when the desire is still there. You'll hear why circulation changes so dramatically with age, the overlooked molecule that quietly decides whether blood flows freely or stalls. And the simplest daily habit, just one spoon each morning, that I've seen reignite strength, warmth, and confidence in men well into their 70s and beyond. And along the way, we'll talk about how fixing this isn't just about performance, it's about bringing back a part of life you thought was gone for good. And before we dive in, if you haven't yet subscribed, go ahead and do it now, and while you're here, hit that like button. Not just for me, but because every like tells us these conversations matter, and every comment you leave becomes the fuel that keeps us creating more videos just for you. Think of it as your way of keeping this space alive, a place where men's health is spoken about honestly, without judgment, and with solutions that work. So pour yourself another cup, settle in, and stay with me. Because in a moment, I'm going to take you into a part of this story most men never talk about, but every man feels. And once you see it clearly, you'll understand exactly why the path back to vitality begins there. 1. The emotional side of poor circulation. Gentlemen, I've sat across from men who could talk about their cholesterol, their blood pressure, even their heart surgeries without a flicker of hesitation. They'd lay out their medical history like a mechanic listing every repair on a well-used truck. But when the conversation drifts toward intimacy, the air changes. Voices drop, hands fidget. There's often a long pause before words find their way out. Poor circulation in that part of the body doesn't just change what happens in the bedroom, it quietly rewrites a man's sense of self. It's not just about whether the body can respond. It's about the confidence in a touch, the ease of closeness, the silent pride in knowing you can be the man your partner remembers. I think of Walter, 67, a man who ran his own small carpentry shop for decades. Strong hands, steady eyes. The kind of man who'd build you a table that would outlive both of you. He told me he'd started avoiding even simple gestures. A kiss on the neck while his wife stirred a pot of soup, an arm around her as they walked in from the cold because he didn't want to start something he wasn't sure he could finish. His words weren't bitter, they were quiet, heavy, like wood grain worn smooth from too many years of pressure. Then there was Henry, 72, a retired firefighter. He'd faced down flames, carried people out of burning homes, yet he said nothing scared him quite like the slow fade he'd felt over the last few years. Not the lack of desire that was still there, but the way his body no longer answered the call with the same speed, the same force. He tried to brush it off, blame it on stress or long days, but the truth settled in slowly. Something deeper had shifted. Science explains it this way. The arteries that feed the penis are about 1/3 the diameter of those feeding the heart. They're the first to show the effects of stiffness, plaque buildup, or inflammation. And inside them, a layer of cells, the endothelium, acts like a living switchboard, opening those vessels when arousal demands it. Over time, with age and the accumulation of lives where that lining loses its quickness, it doesn't open as wide or as fast. And without that surge of blood, firmness fades before it has a chance to hold. But while the textbooks describe physiology, what they don't capture is the human cost. The distance that creeps into relationships. The subtle retreat from closeness. The way a man can feel alone even in a shared bed. And it's that hidden cost that makes restoring circulation so much more than a medical goal. It's a way back to connection, to vitality, to the unspoken moments that make life worth living. And when you see what's really behind that change, the quiet, overlooked shift that happens inside your blood vessels with age, you'll understand exactly where the first step back must be taken. 2. Why circulation changes after 60. When you cross the threshold of 60, your body carries decades of history. Not just the birthdays, the milestones, the long days and late nights, but the invisible record of every meal, every stress, every heartbeat. Your blood vessels are the pages of that record, written on slowly year after year. Inside you is a vast network of roads. Some are wide highways carrying blood to your heart and legs. others are narrow side streets, so delicate they make a strand of hair look thick. The smallest of these roads, the ones that matter most for your most private moments, are only about a third as wide as the arteries feeding your heart. That means they're the first to feel the slowdown when traffic builds up. In your younger years, the lining of those vessels, the endothelium, is like fresh asphalt, smooth and flexible. It can open wide in an instant, letting blood surge through with the force and speed you need. But as the years stack up, that lining stiffens. Tiny deposits of cholesterol and calcium, the microscopic wear from high blood pressure, the inflammation sparked by decades of sugar and stress, all of it adds up. The road isn't as smooth, the gates don't swing open as quickly. And here's where most men misunderstand the problem. They think it's all about testosterone. Now, testosterone matters, it's the spark that lights the engine. But without an open road for blood to travel, even the brightest spark can't start the ride. Desire alone doesn't move blood. It's the health of those vessels and the signals that tell them to open that make the difference between a fleeting swell and lasting strength. The change doesn't happen overnight, it creeps in. First, you notice mornings aren't quite what they used to be, then maybe you need more direct stimulation than before. Over time, you might start avoiding situations where you'd notice it most. And with each quiet compromise, the gap between you and the man you used to be widens. But this isn't a story that ends with decline, because once you know exactly what's causing the slowdown, you can address it directly. And that begins with one overlooked signal, a molecule so small you can't see it, but so powerful it can open those narrow roads in an instant, if only your body has enough of it. 3. The overlooked culprit, nitric oxide decline. When I first began practicing medicine, I thought I knew why so many men lost their edge after a certain age. Testosterone, I believed, was the whole story. If a man couldn't perform like he used to, surely it was because his hormone levels had fallen. But over the years, something didn't add up. I'd meet men in their late 60s with perfectly healthy testosterone levels, yet they still struggled to get or keep a firm erection. The desire was there, the drive was there, but the response was muted. That's when I started looking deeper past hormones into the very language your blood vessels speak. And I found one message at the center of it all: nitric oxide. Nitric oxide isn't a pill or a powder you buy off a shelf. It's a gas one your own body makes. And it is the single most important chemical signal telling your blood vessels to relax and open wide. Think of it like the green light at a traffic intersection. Without that green light, the cars, your blood cells, stack up behind the stop line, the engine's running, the driver's ready, but no one's going anywhere. By the time you reach 60, your body's ability to produce nitric oxide can be cut in half. That means the green lights are turning on more slowly or not at all. In the arteries feeding the penis, where blood flow is everything, this drop is devastating. The vessels stay partially closed, starving the tissue of the surge it needs to create and sustain firmness. Some men turn to prescription medications, the kind that promise an instant fix. And yes, they can force the light to turn green for a while, but they don't repair the signal system itself. The headaches, the flushing, the inconsistent results, all symptoms of pushing a broken switchboard instead of fixing it. The real solution isn't to force the vessels open temporarily. It's to give your body the raw materials to make nitric oxide naturally again, to restore the green light so every signal gets through without strain. And the way to do that doesn't require surgery, prescriptions, or complicated routines. It can start with something so small. You could measure it in a single spoon. 4. The one-spoon morning habit. Over the years, I've seen men chase health routines so complicated they collapse under their own weight, strict diets that steal the joy from eating, gym programs that demand hours a day, supplement regimens that look like a pharmacy shelf. And for a while, they push through. But one late night at work, one weekend away, one flu season, and the perfect plan falls apart. That's why this habit caught my attention. It wasn't loud. It didn't promise miracles overnight. It was quiet, almost ordinary, just one spoon each morning, simple enough to do without thinking, steady enough to keep doing even on the busiest days. I remember Frank, 70 years old, a retired steelworker whose hands still bore the calluses of a lifetime of labor. He sat across from me and said, "Doc, I'm tired of chasing miracles." I told him, "Then don't chase. Just scoop 1 teaspoon of L-citrulline into water or juice before breakfast. Every morning, no exceptions." He looked at me like I'd left something out. But 3 weeks later, when he returned, I could see it before he spoke, more color in his face, a firmer handshake, a quiet spark in his eyes. "Doc, mornings feel different again," he said with a grin. Daniel, 66, had quietly withdrawn from intimacy for years, not because he didn't want it, but because he feared disappointment. 6 weeks into the habit, he told me his wife noticed before he did that sense of closeness was back. Lewis, 72, had given up his daily walks in the park because his legs tired too easily. 2 months into the habit, he wasn't just walking again, he was leading his grandchildren on weekend hikes. These aren't coincidences. They're what happens when you give your body the raw material it needs to restore nitric oxide production. Here's the science. L-citrulline is an amino acid your body converts into L-arginine, which then becomes nitric oxide, the molecule that tells your blood vessels to relax and open. Better vessel function means better blood flow to your heart, your muscles, your brain, and yes, to the smallest arteries that control intimate performance. The beauty of the one-spoon habit is that it's effortless enough to be consistent. And consistency is what turns biology into transformation. It's not about forcing the body to perform for a night, it's about teaching it to respond again, naturally and reliably every day. And when a habit is this simple, you don't have to force yourself to keep it. It becomes part of your rhythm, as automatic as brushing your teeth. Which is exactly why, once you understand what it does, the next thing to ask is why making it more complicated would ever be a good idea. 5. Why one spoon works better than complicated routines. Gentlemen, I've learned something after decades in this field. Most men don't fail because they don't care about their health. They fail because the plan they're given is too heavy to carry every single day. I've seen it all. The color-coded meal charts taped to the fridge, gym schedules that demand hours you don't have, supplement plans so complicated you need a notebook just to keep track. For a week or two, maybe even a month, the momentum is there. But then life throws a curveball, a demanding work week, a family emergency, a trip that takes you out of your routine. Suddenly the perfect plan becomes one more thing you feel guilty for not doing, and before long it's left behind. That's why the one-spoon habit works where others don't. It doesn't demand a full rearrangement of your life, it fits into it. You wake up. You scoop 1 teaspoon of L-citrulline. You stir it into water or juice. You drink. Done. Less than a minute and you've already taken a step toward better circulation before the day has even started. Physiology favors consistency over intensity. Nitric oxide levels don't rebuild from a single surge, they recover through steady, repeated supply of the right building blocks. A habit this easy survives busy seasons, travel days, even those mornings when you're running out the door. And because it survives, it delivers. Think of it like tending a fire. You don't dump a pile of wood on it once a week and hope it burns steady. You feed it a small, steady supply every day so the warmth never fades. That's what the one-spoon habit does for your circulation. It keeps the signal alive so your blood vessels remember how to respond when you need them most. And once you understand that, the next step is simple. Learn how to take it in a way that gives you every possible advantage. 6. How to take it for maximum benefit. Gentlemen, having the right tool means little if you don't know how to use it. I've seen men buy the perfect supplement, then take it at the wrong time, mix it with the wrong foods, or give up just as their body was starting to respond. The difference between mild improvement and a transformation you can feel often comes down to a few simple details. Here's how to do it right. 1 teaspoon, about 3 grams first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. This gives your digestive system a clear runway to absorb it quickly, sending L-citrulline into your bloodstream without having to fight through a heavy meal. Think of it like clearing traffic before the morning rush. The signal gets through faster, cleaner, stronger. Mix it into a glass of cool water, or if you prefer, a splash of light juice. Keep it light, you want speed, not a slow, heavy digestion. Some men make it part of their morning rhythm. Fill the glass while the coffee brews, stir in the powder, drink it down, then take that first sip of coffee knowing you've already done something good for yourself before the day has even started. Hydration matters. Blood is mostly water, and even mild dehydration can make circulation sluggish. Keep a bottle nearby throughout the day and sip often. Movement helps too. Even a short 20-minute walk after breakfast will help push that improved blood flow into every corner of your body, from your brain to your toes. Patience is part of the process. Some men feel warmer hands, more energy, or improved mornings within a week. For most, the real shift happens after a month or two of steady use. This isn't about forcing your body for one night, it's about retraining it for life, rebuilding the ability to respond naturally and reliably. And once you've built that foundation, you'll be ready to see the bigger picture. How one small choice each morning can ripple into every part of your health and confidence. 7. The reveal and closing motivation. So here it is, gentlemen. The one spoon we've been talking about is pure L-citrulline, not a flashy pill with fine print, not a magic herb from the other side of the world. Just an amino acid your body already knows how to use, but in a quantity and consistency it rarely gets any more. Why does it matter so much? Because L-citrulline is the quiet architect of your body's nitric oxide production. It doesn't hammer your arteries open for a night. It restores the signal, the green light your blood vessels have been missing for years. When that light turns on, blood flows where it's needed most, to your heart, to your brain, to your muscles, and yes, to the most personal vessels of all. I've seen it in my patients time and again. Mornings that feel warmer, energy that returns steady instead of in spikes, moments of closeness that happen without planning. These aren't isolated miracles. They are what happens when the body gets back the chemical messenger it has been quietly losing for decades. And here's the truth that gives me hope for every man I speak to. This change doesn't require a complete reinvention of your life. You don't have to become someone else, you just have to give your body what it's been missing, consistently enough for it to remember how to respond. I've seen it work for men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s. And every time the transformation has been more than physical, it's a return of confidence, of connection, of the man they believed was gone. And when you realize how close that man still is, well, that's when the decision becomes simple. It's like finding the key to a room you thought was locked forever and realizing everything inside is just as you left it. 8. Conclusion. Gentlemen, if what you've heard today sparks something in you, even a flicker of curiosity, a quiet what if, don't let it fade into the background noise of another day. Small changes done with consistency have a way of rewriting the story you tell yourself about who you are and what's possible. Tomorrow morning before breakfast, take that one spoon, mix it into water or light juice. Drink it. Do it again the next day and the next. Not because it's trendy, not because someone told you to, but because you've decided to give your body the signal it's been missing for far too long. And if today's conversation gave you value, hit that subscribe button so you're here for the next one. Tap like not for me, but because every like tells us these topics matter for men over 60. And leave a comment, even just a one if this hit home, or share your own question for a future episode. Your feedback isn't just appreciated, it's the engine that keeps this work moving forward. The Prescott Lab podcast isn't just about theory, it's about giving you tools you can actually use no matter your age. And I can tell you this from 3 decades in medicine, it's never too late to feel more like yourself again. So here's to mornings that feel like yours again, to strength that's steady, and to a life lived with connection and confidence. Take that first step tomorrow morning, and I'll be right here ready to take the next one with you.